Good evening. I'd like to call the order the Wheat Ridge City Council meeting for May 11th, 2026. If you are able, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Rachel Holteen.
Present.
Dan Larson.
Here.
Kathleen Martell.
Here.
Scott Ohm.
Here.
Mike Okada.
Here.
Patrick Quinn.
Present.
Jenny Snell.
Present.
Susan Wood.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, in your packet, you had study session notes from April 20th, 2026, and City Council meeting minutes from April 27th, 2026. Do we have any changes to those? Seeing none, thank you, Clerk, for those, putting those together. We'll go to approval of the agenda. Do we have any changes to the agenda tonight? Excellent. Seeing none, we will go ahead and go to If I may have Chief Murtha and the officers in the room with us, please come up and join me. This is a special honor. Sometimes these proclamations are fun, but this is definitely a very, very solemn one, and one that I'm proud to give. National Police Week and National Peace Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the police of Wheat Ridge, Colorado have shared their concern and support following the tragic assault of Officer Alan Fisher, who received life-threatening injuries while on duty on April 13th, 2022. And whereas it is important to recognize and honor the sacrifice made by those who are injured or who die in the line of duty. And whereas it is important that everyone knows and understands the problems, duties, and responsibilities of our police department, and that our local law enforcement agency recognizes their duties to serve our community by safeguarding life and property, by providing protection against violence and disorder, and by shielding the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas, over the course of the past 57 years, the police department of the city of Wheat Ridge has grown to be a modern and scientific law enforcement agency which tirelessly provides a vital service, public service, in partnership with the law-abiding members of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Corey Stites, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the City Council call upon all those living and working in Wheat Ridge and upon all our communities, patriotic, civil, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 15th through 21st, 2026 as National Police Week, honoring law enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered a dedicated service to our community, and in so doing have established for themselves an enviable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all members of our community. I further call upon our community to observe May 15th, 2026 as National Peace Officers Memorial Week, or Memorial Day, to honor those peace officers who through their courageous deeds have lost their lives or who have been injured in the performance of their duty. In witness thereof, on this 11th day of May, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council, for recognizing the Wheat Ridge Police Department. On behalf of the women and men of the Wheat Ridge Police Department, it's in my honor to stand up here and represent them as it is every day. To my left, we have Officer Taggart from our traffic unit, who has been on for how long, Larry, now? 35 years. He's a testament to what Wheat Ridge is through and through, and he consistently is one of our highest performers and lowest number of complaints, which is astonishing. Astonishing. Also with me tonight is Division Chief Kellogg. Division Chief Kellogg, again, a tireless worker, 33, 34 years, I think, on the job. And he's another testament to what it is to be part of this, this sort of fraternity of men and women who go out and do this job every day. In the notes, you'll notice that Alan Fisher is still in there from 2022. Alan Fisher is officially retired as of this year, and when I was reviewing the form, I thought about taking him out, and I thought, you know, people don't understand what it means to sacrifice. And since 2022, Alan and his family have been sacrificing, trying to get healthy, trying to get back to somewhat of what he was, which will never happen. When I talk to Alan, he doesn't regret any of it. I mean, he is a grouchy man by nature, but he doesn't regret any of it. He's loved his career. He's loved everything he's done. And he doesn't talk about the sacrifice so much, but it's there, it's evident, and it's evident in everything he does. And so maybe next year we'll think about, since he's retired, about removing him. But I wanted everybody to know that, you know, that we're 4 years into this with Alan. We've stuck with him, and he's stuck with us, and that's the culture that we have in Wheat Ridge, people like that. So thank you for this proclamation tonight. On behalf of the women and men during this week when they're getting fed like crazy, I will interject myself in a happy moment and tell them that they were also noted by the mayor and council and the members and audience tonight. Thank you.
We have some good ones tonight. Can I have my public work team join us up here? We've got a bunch of you guys here tonight, I think. Thank you all for being here tonight. National Public Works Week. Whereas 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Work Week sponsored by American Public Works Association. And whereas the theme for 2026 is Rooted in Service, Powered by Community, emphasizing the deep impact of public works on community life and the often unseen contributions that maintain infrastructure and services. And whereas the Public Works Department manages all assets in the public right-of-way, including 133 miles of streets, 850 streetlights, 45 traffic signals, 36 miles of storm sewer, as well as 190,000 square feet of public buildings and 230 vehicles and large equipment. They do it in a safe and efficient manner. And whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to the sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and the well-being of the people of Wheat Ridge. And whereas it is in the interest of it is in public interest of the residents and civic leaders in Wheat Ridge to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and the public works programs in their community. Now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Corey Stites, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the Wheat Ridge City Council do hereby designate the week of May 17th through 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week. I urge all residents to join in activities, events, and ceremonies designated to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. In witness thereof, on this 11th day of May, 2026.
Mayor and Council, thank you for this recognition. We are grateful to be able to serve this great community. With us this evening is Mike, our street supervisor, Daniel, our facilities and fleet manager, John, our glue, our administrative assistant, Logan, our newest engineering project manager, and Daniel, our capital projects manager. We ask you on Tuesday, May 19th from 3 to 7, we're going to have an open house at Public Works, and all are welcome. We're going to have food and all kinds of booths and fun and games. And I think somebody said, I think it was TR who said we have a stoplight out there and they're going to play red light, green light with the children. So it should be a great event. It'll be the first time we're going to have open house. You can come see our facilities, meet the team, and learn about more things that we do. So again, honored to be here. Thank you for the opportunity, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
One more proclamation this evening. If I may have all of our clerks join us up here. We have our Senior Deputy, Oriana Maloney. We have our Deputy City Clerk, Lucy Spolenka. And we have our City Clerk, Ms. Janice Hoppy. Clerk's job is never done. It's our 57th annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 3rd through 9th, 2026. Whereas municipal clerks are the guardians of democracy and its most local and most vital level, keepers of the public record, stewards of the public trust, and the quiet voice behind every meeting, every vote, and every ordinance that shapes the daily lives of our residents. And whereas the office of the city clerk ensures that the voices of Wheat Ridge residents are heard, recorded, and preserved for generations to come. Whereas Municipal Clerks Week municipal clerks bring to their work not only professional expertise, but a deep and abiding commitment to transparency, accuracy, and service, ensuring that every detail of public record reflects the highest standard of care. And whereas municipal clerks pursue continuous professional development, holding themselves to the highest standards of excellence to serve their communities. And whereas the city of Wheat Ridge, a community built on hard work, civic pride, and neighborly spirit, is strengthened by the dedicated public servants who uphold its values and serve its residents with professionalism and care. And whereas the city of Wheat Ridge is proud to be served by professionals who embody these values every single day. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Corey Stites, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge and the Wheat Ridge City Council, do hereby declare the week of May 3rd through the 9th, 2026 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week in the City of Wheat Ridge, and call upon all of our residents to recognize and celebrate the dedicated professionals who have served our community with quiet dedication, steady hands, and unwavering integrity. Because democracy is not just an idea, it is a record kept, a meeting noticed, a vote counted, and a resident heard. In witness thereof, on this 11th day of May, 2026. You have some words, Jim?
I really should have read the proclamation before I wrote my speech, so there might be some similarities happening here. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here during Municipal Clerks Week, a tradition that's been celebrated since 1969. I'm here with great appreciation for our Senior Deputy Clerk Maloney and our Deputy Clerk Spolenka. Municipal clerks often work behind the scenes, yet their responsibilities touch every corner of our local government. They are the keepers of public records, they are the guardians of transparency, and the steady link between community members, elected officials, and the many layers of government that shape our community. Whether they are preparing agendas, compiling meeting minutes and notices, preserving history, managing elections, or simply helping a community member find the information they need, they do it with dedication, neutrality, professionalism, and pride. This week is not just a celebration of their work, it's a celebration of their service to Wheat Ridge. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to have Orina and Lucy accept this proclamation on behalf of our municipal clerks team. They show up every day with integrity, patience, and commitment to public service. Thank you.
we have one more proclamation tonight for Mental Health Awareness Week. If I can have Julie DiTullio join me up here. With Jefferson Center for Mental Health. Mental Health Awareness Month, May 2026, sorry. Whereas good mental health is essential to the overall health and emotional well-being of all children, youth, adults, and families, and promotes a healthy community, and whereas nearly 1 in 4 people in our community experience a mental health condition each year, and whereas more than 17% of individuals in our communities experience substance use disorder each year, including alcohol and drug use, and whereas the lack of awareness of where to seek support and stigma against mental health conditions and substance use disorders prevents many people from accessing health care. And whereas when mental health problems and substance use disorders are detected early and treated, people can recover and maintain a healthy and independent life. And whereas the mental health problems whereas increased focus on prevention of mental health conditions and substance use disorders among children, adolescents, and adults through screening and early intervention helps reduce suffering and improves lives. And whereas it is imperative that all members of our community, irrespective of age, gender, expression, sexual identification, race, culture, ethnic background, education, or economic status, have equitable access to essential care, support, and services for mental health and substance use conditions. And whereas the City of Wheat Ridge is dedicated to improving the health and well-being of its citizens and employees by increasing awareness, ending stigma, and focusing on the integral role of mental health in our lives. And now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Corey Stites, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, and the City Council do hereby proclaim Mental Health Awareness Month and call upon all citizens and government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to recommit to our communities and our resources to increase awareness and understanding of mental health, providing the appropriate and accessible services for all residents and making mental health a priority. A witness thereof on this 11th day of May, 2026. Julie, you have a few words you want to say?
Right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. My name is Julie DiTullio, and I am the Senior Coordinator of Donor Engagement at Jefferson Center. And on behalf of our board, staff, and the people we're honored to serve, thank you for declaring May as Mental Health Month in the City of Wheat Ridge. Each year, Jefferson Center serves nearly 25,000 people, made possible through partnerships with more than 150 community organizations, including the City of Wheat Ridge. Mental Health Month has been a cornerstone of advocacy since it began in 1949, and it remains essential for raising awareness and championing the funding and support that sustain life-saving programs and services in our community. Your partnership helps us ensure people can access vital care, therapy and counseling, substance use and crisis services for youth and adults, and community trainings like mental health first aid and QPR suicide prevention training. Mental health is fundamental to overall well-being. Conditions are common and treatable. About 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health condition in any given year, and life's challenges can affect anyone. Even so, many people don't seek help because of stigma or because they're unaware of available resources. That's why your recognition of Mental Health Month is so meaningful. By raising awareness, speaking out against stigma, and advocating for sustained funding, we can build a community where seeking support is met with empathy and where people can get care when they need it. When individuals feel connected and supported, our whole community grows stronger. We're truly grateful for your recognition of Mental Health Month and for your ongoing partnership with Jefferson Center. Thank you for standing with us to create a healthier, more resilient community. Together, we can make a difference.
All right. We are on to our public's right to speak. Residents will have 3 minutes to speak on any item not on the agenda. When I call your name, please come up to the podium. Please introduce yourself, spell your last name for the record. Let us know whether you live or work in Wheat Ridge, and then you may speak. As far as the lights go, you will have 3 minutes to speak. The lights, as long as they're green, you have plenty of time. When they start blinking, you've got about a minute left. With the yellow light, you got about 30 seconds to start wrapping up your comments. And when it's red, please wrap up your comments. I will call up our first person, then I will call up a second person on deck, just so you're aware of when you'll be up. So we will go ahead and start with our first person. Looks like we have Addison Gothard up and Gabriel Wortman on deck.
Hello, my name is Addison Gothard, and I'm a student at Wheat Ridge High School. I'm here to tell you about a nationally acclaimed company that we have the pleasure of working with on a class at our school. Gone Boarding is a company that provides us with materials, training, and curriculum for our class at our school. By doing this, they will allow us to create our own personalized skateboards, skis, snowboards, and other boards like that. There are only 50 high schools in America with this company and only one other in Colorado, and it's not in Jeffco, so it will be entirely unique to our school. Enrollment is key to keeping a school afloat, and this program would really help draw kids in from feeder schools to Wheat Ridge. This class would allow us to access project-based learning. Personally, I've never been a big fan of learning from textbooks, and I'm really a hands-on kind of person. And this class would allow kids at our school, like me, to access this kind of learning while doing something that they love. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll go with Gabriel Wortman next, and then Riker Urbont on deck.
Hello, I'm Gabriel Wortman, I don't need to spell my first name. Wartman. I'm a student at Wheat Ridge High School as well, and an ambassador for the Wheat Ridge Gun Boarding program. The Wheat Ridge Gun Boarding class, also known as the Wheat Ridge Board Factory, would give students the ability to access culture and community through Colorado's strong outdoor spaces. This program would allow students to design personalized boards, as my colleague has mentioned, and would allow them to access outdoor recreation through parks and ski slopes, and give them the opportunity to meet the people of Wheat Ridge and work with the community, which is so important. Wheat Ridge is a very supportive and outreaching community who helps the youth and works with people of all different generations and interests. This program at our high school would allow students to connect with more than one demographic of people and give students the opportunity to grow and learn doing the things they love with the people of their community. The Wheat Ridge Board Factory program would give students the opportunity to learn all of these things in outdoor spaces, which is not only beneficial physically, but mentally as well. I personally have struggled with mental health in my past and know how important outdoor experiences can be, not only for mental health, but for the physical health of our youth as well. And I think that the outdoor opportunities that this program would allow our students to have are incredibly beneficial and would benefit not only the students, the school, but the community as a whole. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Riker Urbont is up.
Hello, my name is Riker Urbont, Urbont. It's no secret that skiing and snowboarding is a massive part of Colorado's culture. And I personally am a Colorado native, but I've never had the chance. What I think the Wheat Ridge Board Factory's biggest impact will be is the access and equality. I would personally love to go every year when winter rolls around. I get to hear all my friends being so excited to go back up to the slopes. I haven't had the chance. I think this would be the perfect way to be introduced to it while also learning hands-on skills. we're already working with companies like Course Tech and local board manufacturers. So this program won't just provide in-school opportunities and recreational, but also chances for careers and hands-on skills for things like trades and carpentry. Now, what we're asking for is you to keep us in mind when looking at grants, and if anybody thinks they can help us in any way, please contact our two amazing teachers, that being Tegan Myers and Burke Edgar. Thank you so much for our time.
Thank you. All right. We'll thank our Wheat Ridge Gone Boarding crew for coming in tonight and letting us know about the program. Thank you all for being here. You know what? We have the communications director here. We might as well get a picture. Why don't you guys come on up in front of council here and we'll. We have nobody else signed up to speak tonight under public comment. We also have a special study session tonight, so we'll go ahead and take our public comment for our study session now. Candace Tomlinson, do you want to come up and speak now?
My name is Candace Tomlinson, Tomlinson. Did you need an address? Is that right?
No.
No address. Okay, anyway, I live in Wheat Ridge. Anyway, so my comment tonight is on the Cats at Large proposed revision for the city code. So evidently staff received feedback that there may be interest in reviewing the regulation regarding domestic house cats and not allowing them an exclusion under the animals at large. I have real concerns about this. I don't know if there's a problem or an issue that kind of instigated, it's maybe not the right word, but this proposed change. But I really feel that perhaps, or I feel that this really would force cat owners, responsible pet cat owners, such as myself, to keep their cats in at all times, basically force them to be inside. Because cats are not like dogs. They can climb fences, they can squeeze through small spaces, they may or may not come when you call them. So it would be very, very hard to basically keep your cat from being at large. I'm a responsible cat owner. My cats are in at night and when we're not at home. My cats are working cats. I look at them or want them for rodent and rabbit control and ideally squirrel control, although they're horrible at that. But I really feel that this would put an unfair burden on me as a responsible pet owner. So I'm going to comment real quick on a couple of the potential reasons for why this update would be considered. One was the running at large increases the danger for cats due to automobile encounters, interaction with predators, etc. And while I'm thankful that the city is concerned about that, I don't see that as the city's responsibility or real concern. If my cat gets hit by a car or run over by a coyote, or not run over by a coyote, eaten by a coyote, that's really my responsibility as a pet owner to take care of that or address that issue. The other one, and perhaps this is the one that's really the issue, I don't know, is that the cats are the second largest human-related cause of bird death, with habitat loss being number one. So I'm a birder, I love birds, but I feel that cats are just a tiny, tiny part of the problem. Free at large and roaming cats are just a tiny part of the problem. It's a complex and multifaceted problem, the bird crisis, and I feel that just banning outdoor cats would not really solve the bird problem. There would need to be bird-friendly windows that kill a lot more birds than outdoor cats. And unfortunately, I've had numerous bird strikes on my big picture window over my garage. It's terrible. And bird-friendly night lighting, and as well as the reduction of rodenticides and glue traps, which also create major problems with our bird populations. So I know I'm out of time, so let me just wrap it up. I'll say that in conclusion, I believe that this potential regulation for cats at large will potentially create more problems for staff and responsible pet owners like me, with little to no benefit and perhaps with some unforeseen consequences and problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We have nobody else signed to speak in chambers, and we have nobody signed up online. Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen.
Thank you. Just like a quick point of order to recognize our high school students who were just recognized up here, but Addison, Gabriel, and Riker, I thought you were up here for like professional speakers school. You did an amazing job of representing your work in our community. And I just want to say how impressed I am with each of you in the program, and just thank you for coming here tonight. It was just a pleasure to get to hear directly from you and just really appreciate the work that you're doing in our community.
Thank you all for being here tonight. We will go to agenda item number 1. Councilor Martel, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to present Council Bill number 09-2026, an ordinance approving the rezoning for property located at 3338 Depew Street from residential 3R3 to residential 1C R1C. At issue, the owner of the property at 3338 Depew Street is requesting approval of a zone change from residential 3R3 to residential 1C R1C. The zone change will result in zoning that encourages investment in the site and will enable the existing land use to become more conforming with the zoning.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. It's an ordinance on second reading, and it is quasi-judicial. I will open the public hearing and ask for Mr. Goff. Do we have a presentation? Or Director Mikulak?
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a staff presentation. I'm happy to introduce Chris Masser, one of our planners, to present this case.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris Masser. I'm a planner with the City of Wheat Ridge Community Development Department. I'm presenting case number WZ26-1, which is a request for approval of a zone change from residential 3 to residential 1C for a single unit dwelling located at 3338 Depew Street. I'd like to enter into the public record, the contents of this case file, the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan, and this digital presentation. The property is within the City of Wheat Ridge. All appropriate notifications and postings have been met, and therefore the City Council has jurisdiction to hear this case. The subject site is outlined on red in this slide. The site is located on the east side of Depew Street between 33rd Avenue and West 35th Avenue. The site consists of 2 lots, which are approximately 5,890 square feet. It currently contains a single unit dwelling and an accessory dwelling unit, both of which are proposed to be removed to accommodate the construction of a new single unit dwelling. The surrounding area is primarily residential. This slide showcases the zoning map of the area. The subject site is outlined in red and is currently zoned residential 3. Surrounding zoning includes residential 1C to the north, south, and east, and residential 1 to the west. Adjacent properties to the north, south, and east are all residential in character, while the property to the west is Panorama Park. The existing zoning on the subject property and within the neighborhood relates to a legislative zone change that occurred 30 years ago. In September 1996, City Council approved a city-initiated rezoning of property generally located between West 32nd Avenue and West 38th Avenue to the south and north, and between Sheridan Boulevard and Pierce Street to the east and west. The ordinance specifically exempts existing two-family dwellings from the zone change to avoid creating non-conforming situations. Because 3338 Depew Street had 2 units, a single-family dwelling and accessory dwelling unit, it was determined to be an exempt property from the council's motion, therefore retaining the current R3 designation. This is a view of the subject property looking east from Depew Street, showing the existing single-unit dwelling. This is the view from the alley looking west at the rear of the existing house in the ADU. The applicant is requesting the zone change to R1C in order to bring the existing property into conformance with the underlying zone district lot standards and to align the zoning with the adjacent properties nearby. Should the rezoning be approved, the applicant intends to redevelop the property with a single-unit dwelling. The proposed R1C district is complementary to the context of the surrounding zoning, land uses, and brings the site into compliance with all dimensional standards. This table compares the existing R3 zoning with the proposed R1C zoning, developmental standards. The most notable differences between the two zone districts include the permitted uses, minimum lot size, minimum lot width, and setback requirements. As a requirement of the zone change process, a neighborhood meeting was held virtually on December 30th, 2025. 4 members of the public attended the meeting, and notes from the meeting are included in tonight's staff report. Since Wheat Ridge is served by special districts, we sent the application on referral to agencies including fire, water, and sanitation, as well as completed an internal review. We did not receive concerns or objections from internal departments or outside agencies. Before the hearing, the property was posted for 15 days, and letters were sent to occupants and property owners within a 1,000-foot radius. And the property was posted on Wheat Ridge Speaks. One comment was submitted in support of the proposed rezoning. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the request on their meeting on March 19th, 2026. We use several criteria to evaluate zone change requests, which includes consistency with the comprehensive plan. Staff believes that the proposed R1C zoning is consistent with the policies and goals in the city's comprehensive plan. The property is identified in the comprehensive plan as part of the higher variety neighborhood, which supports a wide range of housing types and encourages diverse and vibrant residential areas. This designation is intended to provide housing options for a variety of household types and income levels. The proposed R1C zoning designation is appropriate for the subject property because it allows for future redevelopment and brings the property into compliance with the underlying zoning regulations, while maintaining compatibility with the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed rezoning also aligns with the desired outcome of peaceful coexistence. Ultimately, staff is recommending approval of the request for the following reasons. Based on the character and land use pattern in this area, the R1C zone district is most appropriate to maintain the existing character of the neighborhood and to accommodate the applicant's proposal for the redevelopment of the property. For that reason, the zone change should not have an adverse effect on the surrounding area. Staff finds that a zone change to R1C is supported by the city's comprehensive plan, particularly the action item that calls for assessing the zoning map to determine whether updates are needed. The proposed rezoning would bring the property into compliance with the zoning regulations, which are currently not being met under the existing zoning designation. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any other? No? Okay.
That's it. Nothing, no applicant this evening?
Yep.
Any?
No presentation.
No presentation. Okay, thank you.
Then, before we go to questions from council, I will go to questions from the public. I have one person signed up, Betsy Lawton.
That is the applicant.
That is the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to come up and...
Hello, my name is Betsy Lawton, Lawton, and I represent the architect for the owner of this property. And I want to thank Chris for his wonderful presentation. I think he did a great job summarizing the site and its existing condition and why this rezone would bring it more in compliance with the city of Wheat Ridge standards. So thank you so much for hearing our presentation, and I am available for questions.
Thank you. We'll go to questions from council. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. While this is fairly straightforward, anytime, and I was advised this while I was on the Planning Commission, anytime we look at a rezone, we want to make sure we're very thorough in the examination of the request. And I do have just a couple of questions here, and the first question would be, the request is to rezone as R1C as opposed to just R1. Can you tell us the difference between the two?
The difference between the two is the dimensional standards. I don't have them pulled up in the map here. All of the surrounding properties are R1C, so you would not be able to rezone this specific property from R3 to R1 without creating kind of a pocket of this one zone. So that's the basis of why they're going back to the R1C zoning district. The differences are kind of minimal between the R1 and the R1C, but there are some dimensional standards that are different.
And one of those dimensional standards would be the minimum lot size?
Correct.
Okay. And for R1C, the minimum lot size?
5,000 square feet.
Okay, and so this property conforms then?
Correct.
Okay, that's all the questions I had. Thanks.
Yep.
Councilor Wood.
I would agree. This does seem pretty straightforward, and that really was a very nice presentation. Thank you. One question that I had is there are two structures before and there are two lots. We'll have one structure, and if I got that right, it's what's allowed by the zoning that's being requested. Will there be a requirement to dissolve the lot line that's there today?
There won't be a requirement. There's a lot line. What's the actual term for that?
There, on these non-conforming lots of record where it's only 25 feet wide, we have two options. But you're correct, we will have to acknowledge that there's a lot line down the middle through either a plat or, I'm forgetting the term as well. A consolidation covenant, I think is what we call it. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for the clarification.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and ask Councilor Martell for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 9-2026, an ordinance approving the rezoning of property located at 3338 Depew Street from Residential 3 R3 to Residential 1C R1C on second reading, order it published, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
I have a second by Councilor Snell. Do we have discussion on the motion? Councilor Martell.
I would also just like to say I think this was a great presentation and a great example of the process working. And I also appreciate in the packet the notes from the public meeting where we could see the residents that did attend and their comments on the topic. So thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 2. Councilor Larson, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. This is Council Bill number 10-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning vehicular public nuisance. The issue is the ordinance revises the definition of vehicular public nuisance to facilitate tow and impound of vehicles identified as having been used to elude or otherwise having been used in the commission of a crime.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. I will open the public hearing and ask Mr. Goff for a presentation.
Yeah, we'll start with just a brief presentation. Mr. Dahl, City Attorney, will introduce it.
Council, I think I've previously described to you the issue that we have with eluding, and the council has been good about amending the code to address that. But that leaves, however, a gap involved in being able to identify just a vehicle as opposed to the driver. And the police department brought this to my attention. It's a fairly short ordinance. It just amends the definition of vehicular public nuisance, but achieves the goal, which is to ensure that the police department can go for the vehicle. And I've asked Division Chief Kellogg to articulate for you sort of the circumstances that come up and why this would be a benefit to the police department.
Mayor, City Council, I'm excited to stand here with you again tonight. Interestingly, as I was looking through for stories to share, and that was this past Friday, I read a recap from the very night before in which one of our officers attempted to stop two motorcycles who were well over the appropriate speed limit, certainly putting our other motorists and our pedestrians in danger. And when he went to make that stop, they eluded, and they failed to stop, and they failed to pull over, and they continued their, I would suggest, reckless and inappropriate way of continuing. What really made this very challenging, however, was they didn't just leave the city. They turned around and they came back, and they were taunting the officer. And without the approval of this ordinance, we have to just recognize that this is a challenge, and we hope that they leave the city. With this ordinance approval, we could, and we do have, these motorcycles license plates. With this, with the approval of this ordinance, it would allow us to actually do the appropriate paperwork based on probable cause, of course. But we could go and we could seize their motorcycles just to actually offer a little bit of a notation to them that the city is not willing to allow for this type of behavior within the city. It creates a wildly unsafe experience for the community. We have had, and I think it's in your packet, but we've had nearly 200 of those types of events in the last 2 years. And I think we've been, lack of a better term, lucky to not have any kind of substantial issue associated with these types of situations. With that said, I'll offer any opportunity for questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any other presentation?
That's
it. Okay, we'll go to questions from council. Actually, I will say we'll go to questions from public. We have nobody signed up, so we'll go to questions from council. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. Up until now, if somebody, if we identify a vehicle that has, that we have noted in the past that has eluded or participated in some sort of illegal activity, did we not have the ability to confiscate the vehicle then?
We did. Our policy does not allow us to pursue or continue with the eluding. What we're asking for is a slight change in the vehicle nuisance law, which is specific to racing and those types of exhibitions of speed. We have not been able to access those types of privileges, for lack of a better term, until now. With this approval, this includes eluding and other criminal types of behaviors that are outside of just exhibitions of speed and racing.
So, Chief, how would you give me an example of how this would happen? Would it involve, say, a patrol car going through a parking lot and noticing a vehicle that is on the list? At that time, would they need a probable cause, or would the fact that this vehicle has been noted in the past?
Well, I'll just use the example on Thursday. If this was enacted and we had access to the additions to the public nuisance that we're talking about here, we have the license plates of these two motorcycles. We would take those motorcycles down, figure out where, we would take the license plates down, run them, figure out where they live, and we would go and we would confiscate their motorcycles from their location when they were parked. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean they'd be there automatically, but the probable cause exists for a period of time.
I'm sorry. Can I add one thing to that?
Oh, go ahead, Chief.
If you don't mind. So I think what the distinction here is, if an officer stopped that vehicle, if those motorcycles had stopped, for Chief Kellogg's examples, we would cite the driver. We have to identify the driver, though. So wearing helmets or masks or anything else does not allow for that. We're talking about here with this ordinance is being able to take the vehicle. It is a civil violation. It's a protective order against the vehicle, so it doesn't require us to identify the driver because obviously they fled, so they've avoided identification. But it does hold the vehicle owner responsible for whoever's operating that vehicle to be in control of that vehicle and to operate in a safe manner, and that's up to them to have that conversation. But it allows us a different avenue than we would normally have. Let's say we did pursue them for cause. They had committed a violent felony and we stopped them, we would cite them and we would impound the vehicle at that point. This is just a different route that we need to take because people know now not to stop.
Then it involves more identifying the vehicle than the owner or the driver at that time.
This is a different option because we can't identify the owner and it's too dangerous to do so, but it holds the vehicle owner responsible for the actions of the driver.
Thank you.
Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. What is the protocol for any vehicle with no license plates if they were, let's just say, generally not going over 10 miles over, but there's no license plate whatsoever?
Well, if there's no license plate, then of course we have the immediate unlicensed, unregistered vehicle or no noted license plate, so we can make that stop. And if they stop, we will secure that vehicle if it is not registered. If it is registered, we can have, oftentimes we will have the registered owner come and get it. You need to put plates on it. So we try to work with the folks, but with the folks with the community that we work with. But if we find that it's not registered, there's no insurance, then we're going to tow that vehicle.
Sure. Councilor Cotta.
Thank you, Chief Kellogg. Just a quick clarifying question. In your comments, you mentioned in the incidents that we've had over the past 2 years, we haven't, I don't think you used these words, but no significant incidents. You're probably referring to like bodily injury and actual like accidents. I just want to clarify that that's what you're meaning.
That's generally what I'm meaning. We have had a few minor accidents, side swipes and those types of things, but no, I guess what was on my mind when I offered that was no fatal types of situations.
Understood. Thanks for the clarity.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Officer Kellogg. So let me run this through my little bird brain here. So you can track down these individuals through their license plate.
Yes, sir.
And then we send a tow truck and an officer and go get the motorcycles in this case. And then what? If they want their bike back, they got to come back. And I've watched cops before, and I'm sure it's not his pants and it's not their car, and they lend it to their buddy, yada, yada, yada. So what's the next step if you don't
Right.
like
They do have the opportunity to challenge the probable cause in a hearing within, I believe it's 10 days that we have noted. And then we can offer an opposition to that within 45 days. If we are justified, if the courts find that we're justified, we're good to go, then we can keep that vehicle from anywhere from 6 months to as long as a year, as just a communication with them to behave when they're in Wheat Ridge. And I had another point and I lost it, so my apologies.
That's okay. That happens to me all the time. So at what point in time do they get the ticket for being not a good citizen?
Right. So the civil aspect of it is in the court procedure. When we put all the paperwork in to hold that vehicle, we do have to notify the owner of the vehicle, and we give them all the appropriate paperwork, and we let them know that this is what happened. You do have the opportunity to challenge that probable cause, and this is how you do it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief Kellogg, for this. I just wanted to ask about something. I was reading through and thinking about what Councilor Ohm asked in the a vehicle without a license plate. Can this also cover e-bikes and the e-bikes that look like motorcycles and you're not really sure until you get real close?
So it can. There are certain, and we chatted about this quite a bit. There are certain e-bikes that have a power rating, if there's a better way to put that, that would actually fall within this ordinance.
Thank you. That's great.
Sure. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. I had two questions. One is, if we have identified a license plate and it's on this list, and that vehicle is identified not at the home, not at the address where it's registered, but in the King Super parking lot or on a side street, can it still be towed? Or is it only at the residence or the address on file?
If our officers can articulate that this is the motorcycle or vehicle, and that this is the license plate that is associated with this vehicle, they can take it from anywhere that they find it.
And then if a license plate is added to this list, is it on that list forever? Or like if a year goes by and we're not able to track down the vehicle and then it's found, is that forever?
It's not really forever. CCIC actually, they actually purge their data, and I don't know the exact time. I believe it's every 7 years, but I believe they purge that data for certain violations. So, for example, if somebody has a murder warrant, that stays in there forever and ever. This, I believe, would be something that would be purged.
But it wouldn't be like a 30-day. It would be, we'd have time to
Right.
follow up on
We
this.
would,
Okay,
yes.
Great. Thank you for the
Yes,
information.
sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you. I am going to build off of the previous two questions. So going off of Council Member Martell's, my question was that the action would be limited to the Wheat Ridge Police Department. It wouldn't be like Denver picks up the license and they call it in. Like this is our own internal police department's record keeping, and not something that's like something that's shared with other police departments. Is that correct?
Ultimately, we could put it in CCIC in the database. The hope, the belief would be that we would exercise this probable cause tow before it gets into that situation. So what our officers would go out and they would find this vehicle in that moment.
Okay. I mean, it just seems like if this is, if I'm sure there's, a handful of bad actors that are probably not exclusively doing this in Wheat Ridge, so exchange of information seems like it could be useful regionally for more collaboration on that. And then to the e-bike question, so just a clarification that a true e-bike cannot go over 28 miles an hour. Yeah. So to get away from you at 20 miles an hour would take some creativity. So I think most e-bikes that might fall under some sort of probable cause in here are not true e-bikes and are actually modified e-bikes that have had speed regulators or speed governors taken off and are going faster than 28 miles an hour, in which case they're violating probably a couple of different moving vehicle things. So I'm just going to agree with that. Yep. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and I will ask Councilor Larson for a motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill number 10-2026, an ordinance amending the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws concerning vehicular public nuisance, and that it take effect upon adoption at second reading as provided by Section 5.11 of the Charter.
Second.
I have a second by Councilor Quinn. Do we have any comments or discussion from council? Councilor Quinn.
Just one, I think since I seconded it, I'm in full support of it, and I think it's another tool in the toolbox. And I think what it will ultimately do is you don't have to go chase them. As long as you get the license plate number, then we're not putting the public or the officers in danger as much. And it gives us another way to go take care of the problem. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Okada.
Thank you. I just want to commend our police department, our city attorney. This feels so clean, and it feels like right up the middle of a complaint that I hear very frequently in my neighborhood in our northwestern area of our city. I know this is a problem throughout the entire city, but in particular, I hear from my neighbors very frequently. I hear myself on Ward Road quite a bit of this activity that needs to be reined in, and finding a very clean by the rule exactly the right method for what our police department needs in order to be able to levy this enforcement, I think is really commendable. So I wanted to make sure to comment on that.
Do we have any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you to the police and our city attorney on that. Moving on to agenda item number 3, Councilor Wood, will you please introduce this item?
Yes, item number 3, resolution number 23, 2026. The title is a resolution in opposition to House Bill 261114, prohibiting cities from requiring minimum lot sizes. Issue is House Bill 261114 would limit municipal authority over local land use by prohibiting cities from requiring minimum lot sizes greater than 2,000 square feet for certain residential development. The City Council is being asked to consider adopting a formal position opposing the bill based on concerns that it would preempt local zoning authority, conflict with Wheat Ridge's adopted plans and community-driven policies, and impose a one-size-fits-all approach to land use regulation across diverse communities.
Thank you, Councilor Wood. This is a resolution by council. Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation?
I would turn it over to Ms. Hulteen, our legislative committee chair. She might have
Mayor
some
Pro
more.
Tem Hulteen.
Thank you. I'll just make some comments actually about all 4 of the resolutions and then invite my my co-committee partners in legislation. So just as a reminder, this session we handled a little bit differently than last session, and hopefully next year we'll operate a little bit differently with our newly hired legislative, what's policy analyst? Is that Wyatt's position? Oh, okay. There you go. Anyway, so we focused really this time, instead of comprehensively following like a whole bunch of bills, we decided to really dial in on, we initially started with 3 bills and then added a 4th last minute bill, and really heavily looked at the lens of what has the most impact on our city. So the 4 bills that we are bringing to you tonight for your consideration, we took the positions as the bills were introduced. Of course, as legislative bills go through the process, they do change, and we can certainly provide a post-legislative session update on how these bills landed. But we prioritized these 4 bills after a lot of discussion in partnership with CML and city staff. Took the 2 opposed and 2 support bills because we felt like those positions were in the best interest of our community and our city. So I invite my co-chair Dan or Councilmember Okada to provide any additional comment on the bills we're bringing forth tonight.
And thank you, Councilmember Hulteen. I do have to acknowledge the fact that this year the way the Legislative Affairs Committee operated, I think was really coming together. Experience is the best teacher, and we had some good experiences this year. There were opportunities to testify, and we did testify at 2 Senate hearings during the session. And I'd like to think we've made some inroads with some of our legislators, and they're aware of the fact that the folks in Wheat Ridge are keeping an eye on what's going on under the Gold Dome.
Only thing that I want to add is this was my first year on the legislative committee, and I had a certain expectation of the type of work that we would be doing, and a couple of surprises for me included how much there is just to keep track of. There's like it's not about kind of going out into a field with a I'm gonna attempt a very clumsy metaphor. Going out to a field with a butterfly net and trying to catch certain things is being trapped in a room with about 1,000 butterflies and trying to figure out what's going on and which ones are doing what. So that work is super interesting. We had a really good chance to be able to do quite a lot of work as the committee this time around, and now that I know what that kind of work is looking like, I feel even better prepared for our next time that we go through. And I also want to thank the city staff that has supported us. That was really helpful in the context that we had in that area, and thank the other committee members for that work, because it really takes a lot of focus and attention to be able to do this work right.
Thank you. And sorry, I wasn't expecting to speak now, so it's taking me a minute to gather my thoughts. But I do want to thank Amanda Harrison for wrangling us. It was a really fast pace, and there were times where I just felt like legislators were just throwing things against the wall, and you do have to like take a look at what hit the wall. I love that butterfly metaphor. I'm going to not forget that. But I think we really kept our eye on the butterfly, and the decisions to pick bills is really challenging because a lot of bills actually do impact us. And we did adopt rules this year that for us to actually take an advocacy position, we had to have unanimous support on the bill. It didn't seem with only 3 of us that like 2 people supporting a bill and a third when you're just picking 3 or 4. So we did do that, and we actually, I would say we had really good discussion, and it was never really too big of a point of contention. But I just really want to thank both Councilmember Okada and Councilmember Larson for good discussions. And I will tell you, with 2 days before the end of the legislative session, everybody's happy it's over. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to questions from council, we will go to questions from the public. We have nobody signed up, so we'll go to questions from council.
I think, Mayor, you should take credit for this one because it did fail. So your opposition resolution worked. Congratulations.
Well, there we go.
Well, that's true. They knew, though. They
It
knew
will
was
have
coming.
worked in the future, and we're excited about that. Doctor Who rules, right? All right. So, no questions. So, may I ask Councilor Wood for a motion, please?
Yes. I move to approve resolution number 23, 2026, a resolution in opposition of House Bill 261114, prohibiting cities from requiring minimum lot sizes.
Second.
I have a second by Mayor Pro Tem Holteen. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing, oh, wait, Councilor Quinn.
Just one real quick. Thanks for taking this up on the committee. It's important that, I think Wheat Ridge, we do a lot of good things, and the state, for some reason, thinks they can one-up us at times. And I think we do a good job in our zoning and everything, that we don't need that kind of help, and it helps preserve our home charter. So thanks.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
And congratulations, council. I hear that your resolution worked out really well. So that's what happens when you stand up for yourselves. I like it. Going on to agenda item number 4, Councilor Ohm, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm hopeful maybe I'll have the same luck.
Yeah.
Okay, resolution number 24-2026, a resolution in opposition to Senate Bill 26-117, proposing new restrictions on how Colorado lottery tickets may be sold. At issue, the Legislative Committee is requesting City Council consideration of advocacy position regarding Senate Bill 26-117, permissible methods of selling lottery tickets. The bill proposes new restrictions on how Colorado lottery tickets may be sold, including limitations on modernization efforts such as online sales and updated payment methods. The committee recommends that City Council adopt a position opposing SB 26-117 to help protect essential funding for parks and outdoor infrastructure.
Thank you. This is a resolution by council. Do we have a presentation on this, or?
Not from staff, unless council does.
Did you want to say anything, Mike? I will share that it did pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see how this one
Yeah,
goes then.
all
All right. Any other parts of the presentation?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to say that, like all 4 of these resolutions before the council tonight, there was significant amounts of discussion. They're, again, focusing down on 3 or 4 key issues in the sense that they had a direct impact on Wheat Ridge. And I think we landed on 3 or 4 very good examples of legislation that we need to take a position on.
Thank you. Any other parts of the presentation?
Just really quickly about this one too, as we were watching this one go through, we saw amendments occur. The kind of core about the reason why we were opposing this one was because of the threat to the funding, the Great Outdoors Colorado funding. And as the legislative session went on, and after we had made our position on this, some amendments were made that softened the threat to that to that funding. That funding is important to Wheat Ridge, of course, because we have outdoors and we have parks that receive that funding. Just a little more clarity.
Before we go to questions from council, we'll go to questions from the public. We have nobody signed up to speak, so do we have any questions from council on this? Seeing none, Counselor Ohm, may I please have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve resolution number 24-2026, a resolution in opposition to Senate Bill 26-117, proposing restrictions on how Colorado lottery tickets may be sold.
I have a second by Counselor Okada. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
All right. Moving on to agenda item number 5. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, will you please introduce this?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce resolution number 25-2026, a resolution in support of House Bill 26-1318 concerning traffic safety near schools. At issue, the legislative committee is requesting City Council consideration of an advocacy position on HB 26-1318, a bill currently before the General Assembly that concerns traffic safety near schools. The proposed position aligns with the city's adopted legislative priorities, including public safety, local control, transportation safety, and protection of local funding sources. HB 26-1318 would expand local authority to implement school zone safety measures, and the committee recommends that City Council formally support the legislation.
Thank you. This is a resolution by council. Do we have a presentation on this?
This was, where's my hand? So we actually, part of why I was asking Councilmember Okada if he had comment on the last one is we each kind of picked areas, and so these bills kind of fall in our different areas that we were tracking. And this was in my area, and this was a late session bill, and actually has passed and got through very quickly. It allows us to expand school zones beyond the current allowable range, and it actually mandates if you're going to make it a new school zone any less than that, you actually have to have a public hearing. It allows you to do school zones on private roads, and it also removes some of the barriers to AVIS enforcement near schools. So all of those things just deeply align with priorities we have around improving safety near our schools. So I am excited that this is one of the bills we picked to support, and I am happy that it has gone through the legislature and hopefully gets signed by the governor here soon. So thank you.
Any other parts of the presentation? No? Okay. We will go to questions from the public. We have nobody signed up, so we'll go to questions from council. Seeing none. Sorry, Councilor Quinn.
Just one, Mr. Mayor. We've had a couple individuals come in and talk about 38th right in front of the school by the green there. And then they've also corresponded with Wheat Ridge Speaks this week. Will this help alleviate the problems they're talking about by being able to put AVIS or expand that, or do anything to help with the speeding that they've been writing about?
Thanks for asking that. So I think the request we saw come through today was around specific like street design and street treatment. And this bill doesn't really fall within that. It gives us, it allows us to set a school zone, which is a slower enforced speed limit, further out from the school. So it doesn't really affect, the thing it could affect is it does give us the right to declare an adjacent street as a school street. And we could actually drop the speed limit down to 10. I don't know if we could do it on 38th, but we could do it on High Street. And actually, we could elect to even close the street. So it gives us a lot more like authority and like permission to do different, more speed control and less like street design and implementation. So so ultimately, Stevens could be a beneficiary of it if we decided to do some of those like enhanced treatments. But I'd say the biggest thing is it actually removes barriers for a police department to do speed enforcement in front of the school and near the school. So that gives us more tools to actually enforce the speed limit.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, Mayor Pro Tem Holteen, may I have a motion?
You betcha, as soon as I get to it. Okay, I move to approve resolution number 25-2026, a resolution in support of House Bill 26-1318 concerning traffic safety near schools.
Second.
Ooh.
I'll give that one to Councilor Quinn. Although I know there were a couple on his heels on that one. So second by Councilor Quinn. Do we have any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, Councilor Okada, will you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 26-2026, a resolution in support of the House Bill 26-1071 to implement local government vehicle identification systems on interstate highways. At issue, the Legislative Committee is requesting City Council consideration of an advocacy position on House Bill 26-1071, legislation before the Colorado General Assembly that would authorize municipalities to deploy automated vehicle identification systems on interstate highways within their jurisdiction. This request aligns with the city's adopted legislative priorities related to public safety, local control, transportation safety, and preservation of local funding sources. Adoption of an advocacy position would allow the city to formally communicate support for legislation that may enhance roadway safety and provide additional enforcement tools for high-risk interstate corridors.
Thank you. This is a resolution by the council. Do we have a presentation on this?
Thank you, Mayor. This is one of those that came up early on. It was actually something that the city of Wheat Ridge supported from the beginning, and this is based on discussion that the committee had with Chief Murtha regarding the incidents of some of these tragic high-speed accidents on I-70, the about 8 or 9 mile stretch that runs through the city of Wheat Ridge. And how, because the our police department is not allowed to deploy the speed cameras known as AVIS along the interstate, it does little to help deter speeding within our city. The other issue is that when the Wheat Ridge Police Department works a traffic accident and manages the traffic at that accident scene, and the hours spent doing that is not compensated by the Colorado Department of Transportation or the state of Colorado. And this seemed to be a way that some of that revenue could be replaced. It wouldn't be enough to completely offset it, but it would help. So the idea was that by allowing cities like Wheat Ridge to deploy AVIS on the interstate would both deter speeding and would also help compensate the amount of time that our police department spends on working these terrible accidents. I was able to testify at this in front of the Senate hearing on the day the bill was killed, which carried a certain irony. But part of the discussion is that speed cameras, for some reason, this year are being lumped in with all sorts of other ideas around public surveillance and that sort of thing. And I think what we saw in the Senate legislature this year was a general sort of, we don't like speed cameras, no how, no way. So when this came up, I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle and was categorized as mainly a surveillance camera issue, and so it lacked the support it needed. It's unfortunate, and discussions are continuing with some form or fashion for the city of Wheat Ridge and its efforts on working accidents along the interstate in Wheat Ridge can somehow be managed. Thanks.
Councilor Kyle.
One thing to add, the speed cameras on interstate highways in Colorado are allowed. It's just not allowed by a municipality or local government, including like a county, to be able to install them. So there is still hope that hopefully the state of Colorado can install some speed cameras to be able to help us with that particular stretch of I-70.
Thank you. Any staff presentation on this one? Chief Murtha, you want to?
I don't want to just complain and cry about it. All I'll say is thank you for the support. I appreciate it. I know that I got to hang out with Councilor Larson up there at the Senate, and thank you for everybody who supported this. We are currently in discussion. I'm trying to create a group of folks who work the highways to come together, since none of us have actually any MOU or agreement with the state to do the work that we're supposed to have an MOU for. I believe we have a leverage position that we may be able to work some type of speed enforcement up there, as well as potentially get some resources back. So, like you said, it's not a dead issue. It continues to be a fight that we'll take up.
Thank you. We will go to questions from the public. We have nobody signed up, so we'll go to questions from council. Councilor Ohm.
Thank you, Mayor. So Chief, the question I have is, I know you talked about leverage. So currently, is there an MOU in place that says that Wheat Ridge must or shall, take care of anything related to the boundary of Wheat Ridge on the highways?
No, this is a short answer. When I got here, I researched it because I found it odd that nobody could find the document that I thought that by law we're supposed to have. And then the more I researched it and talked to some of the older folks, the old retired, they said it was a handshake deal. So we're required to have an agreement on not just the interstates, but on any state road to do certain enforcement. And we don't have it, and nobody does. So I think our position is, if you want us to continue to do the work, let's do it the right way. And maybe you can compensate us that way, and maybe you can do some more of the work we want, which is proactively to do something to slow down the traffic. Because right now, all we do is respond. And we respond out of the kindness of our heart. And I feel like I'm spending Wheat Ridge tax dollars in a way that maybe could be better spent. So that's what we're working on.
Well, yeah, and besides the tax dollars, I do have a lot of concern for the speed and the officer safety. So let us know what I can do to help. It doesn't sound like a good situation. So
We're going to reach out. We've already have reached out to CML once the session's over. We're going to convene on this and with other communities that are that support this and talk about this specifically as a next step.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, Councilor Okada, can I have a motion, please?
I move to approve resolution number 26-2026, a resolution in support of House Bill 26-1071 to implement local government vehicle identification systems on interstate highways.
I have a second by Councilor Ohm. Do we have discussion on the motion? Councilor Wood.
Before we're finished with all the resolutions on this, I wanted to say thank you to the Legislative Committee. I know how much work it takes to track all of the bills, to choose bills to really dig into, and then to be able to do the work, to be able to have a voice in the outcome. So thank you for all the hard work.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. And again, our compliments to our legislative committee. They did a fantastic job this year. And agenda item number 7, Councilor Snell, will you please introduce this motion?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a motion to cancel the November 2nd, 2026 City Council study session. At issue, the City Council study session of November 2nd, 2026 currently coincides with the week of the upcoming November 2026 election. The City of Wheat Ridge will sign an IGA to run a concurrent election with Jefferson County. The Wheat Ridge City Council Chamber is an advertised Jefferson County polling place. As such, the City Council Chamber will require election equipment, election judges, and the utmost security to ensure a valid election free from protest. It is for these reasons that the staff in the City Clerk's office request to cancel the November 2nd, 2026 City Council study session.
Thank you, Councilor Snell. This is a motion for the council. Do we have staff presentation on this? Seeing none. Do we have any questions we have no questions from the public, so we have questions from council? Seeing none. Councilor Snell, may I have a motion on this?
You may. I move to cancel the November 2nd, 2026 City Council study session.
Second.
And I have a second by Councilor Martell. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
8 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Excellent. Moving on.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we get to study session, I just have a couple quick items. E5X, who's the current owner of the Lutheran Legacy Campus, they've been promoting their redevelopment to numerous different stakeholder groups, including recently to the Colorado Real Estate Expo, to Colorado bond share buyers, and I will be presenting with E5X Wednesday to the Urban Land Institute. And they put together this short little video that I want to show you. This is part of their marketing materials, and it's only about 2 minutes, but just gives you a new view of the proposed campus. Thanks, Marianne. Thank you, Marianne. So as you can see, as promised, they're preserving the chapel and the Blue House. And as the zoning requires, 20% of the property is open space. So a lot of public gathering spaces and green space. So that's still conceptual. It may not look exactly like that, but that's the vision. And as you know, they're actively in demolition stages right now. If you've been driving by, they're moving quickly. So yeah. So excited to show that. Some other good news. The city was just awarded a $50,000 grant from the Colorado Gives Foundation for our homeless navigation program. I think that's their third or fourth they've received. So yeah, very proud of our staff for finding those dollars. That will help with any outreach goods that they may need. So excited about that. And Friday, I believe, I sent you, or this weekend, sent you the polling instrument that was directed by City Council at our workshop on April 11th. Magellan, who's the consultant we're using, will start that process this week so that we'll have the results back for a June 1st study session. That's all I got. Thank you.
We will go to city attorney's matters.
Actually, one quick scheduling matter. Next week, next Monday, you'll be here for the special meeting and a public hearing on the auto wash special use permit. After that hearing got set with a great deal of effort to get it set on that date, I have a close family member that needs a surgery, and the surgery can only take place on next Monday. And she's out of town, and I need to go out and support her and take care of things for a few days during that period of time. So I will not be able to attend. This is one hearing I'd like to make sure that there's someone in person sitting here to kind of help navigate through that hearing. And so I have tapped Thad Renault, who is my partner. He's the Renault of Murray Dahl, Beery and Renault. And he's a very solid guy. He's a city attorney like I am for various other cities. And he and I are already scheduled to work with Lauren to get him up to speed on the case. He's seen all the materials, and we'll meet again to make certain that he's up to speed. He'll be sitting here. You can rely on him as you would rely on me. And he's a sharp guy and will do a great job to handle any questions that might come up during the hearing. So I wanted to let you know that I won't be here. That's why I won't. I'm sorry I won't be able to, because these are the kind of hearings I sadly enjoy. But I won't be here, and it'll be Thad. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll go to elected officials reports, and we'll start with Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one thing, Councilor Larson and I have coming up on May 23rd, a District 4 meeting that's going to be held at the Historic Park at the Wheat Ridge Historical Society. It's on Saturday the 23rd. I think I said that already, but it's going to be from 9 a.m. To noon. And we would like to extend the invitation out into the world, Wheat Ridge, District 4, and beyond.
Thank you. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor. And this Saturday is Armed Forces Day, but I will not be attending Armed Forces Day anywhere because Councilmember Okada and I will be at Red Rocks Community College for the commencement ceremony this Saturday. Also, May is Older Americans Month, and this year's theme is Champion Your Health. Take an active role in personal health, nutrition, and preventive care. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll go to District 3, Councilor Wood.
Very good. Actually, I will also be at the Red Rocks commencement this coming Saturday. I'm very much looking forward to that and very honored to be asked to attend. Also, a couple of things this past week that I really enjoyed and really meant a lot to me. First of all, the parks tour that our Wheat Ridge folks, Karen, Brandon, and Benny, took new council members on Saturday was excellent. It was wonderful to see things in a way that I had not seen them before, and some I had never seen before. So it was a great learning experience, and I really appreciated the time that they took to show us such a good time and teach us so many things. The other thing is this past week, I and others attended the Family Tree celebration, where there were celebrants who, with the help of Family Tree, really turned their lives around, and it was amazing. It was really gratifying to see this and very uplifting, and it made me very proud of Family Tree, and it made me proud of our city manager who serves on their board and all the work that they do. So it was a great week.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was with the Parks tour with Susan and others, and I echo what she said. And then learning about the facility that they have, it's a lot rustic and a little rough, I'd say. And kudos to those folks for working in those conditions. The Family Tree celebration was great. What a place. They do a lot of great work, and I just ran out of words. Like Officer Kellogg there, something escaped me. We do have our Engage Wheat Ridge District 3 times and places. I'll throw out July 8th, 6 to 8 at the Wheat Ridge Rec Center. Susan and I just briefly talked a little bit. We might try to make that like a little ice cream social kind of thing. So bring your sweet tooth. And July 25th at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're going to try to do it at Color Strand Elementary School outside. Have a little engagement out there.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to Council Members Wood and Quinn, I attended the Family Tree event this week, and it was a lot of fun. There was great energy in the room, and the clients of Family Tree that spoke about their stories were inspiring. So I really appreciated being able to attend that with the city. Also attended the park tour that our Parks and Rec folks put on. And at the end of it, I was talking to Brandon, and I said, I think I know a lot about Wheat Ridge. I've been here for a long time. I've been engaged. But every time I go on a tour or spend time with city folks, I feel like I always learn something new, and I'm always impressed. And I learned a lot of new things on this tour, so I'm so glad we had the opportunity, and if there's ever a park tour, I recommend anyone take it. I also was embarrassed and very excited to participate in the Antique Boutique and Atomic Theater sponsored fashion show on Sunday night at the Green. Antique Boutique and Atomic Theater, both businesses in District 1, sponsored a How the West Was Worn fashion show at the Green. And it was a beautiful afternoon, and it was so much fun. And there were about 20 people who participated, volunteered, some city staff, some city other folk, and just many, many people celebrating community. So it was a lot of fun, and my very first fashion show. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a designer? Like, would you need to shout out?
Yes, I was in vintage 1930s Girl Scout troop leader attire, including the candy cigarettes in my pocket because I had to keep those kids in line. So yes, I was a Girl Scout leader.
Fantastic. Love it. Counselor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I am eagerly awaiting the fall collection from House of Martell. Couple things. Last week, if you didn't know, last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and in one of my other hat that I wear, I got to go to a Wheat Ridge school to support some teachers. I was at Mountain Phoenix Community School last week, and even though it was last week, I really feel like every week should be Teacher Appreciation Week because our teachers are keeping us going as a society. So I just wanted to say a thanks to them, a thanks to teachers, and just continue to support our educators. On that note, I wanted to recognize the folks from Wheat Ridge High School, the students that came to talk about the Wheat Ridge Board Factory and how exciting that is. And I'm just so impressed. And it's an exciting concept. I'm really excited for them. I'm very much proud of them and impressed with them for coming and talking about it, but also excited to see where that program can go. And I feel like one more thing that we are very lucky to have in Wheat Ridge, one of two in the entire state. And also wish they had that when I was in high school. But anyway, really, really cool and so impressed about that. The other thing I want to just mention is tomorrow morning, Councilor Martell and I will have our office hours at Ann's Pie Cafe. This was a reschedule from last week, so we have back-to-back office hours this week and next week. So District 1 folks, please come join us. Ann's Pie Cafe is a wonderful place to meet, get some delicious treats, have some coffee, talk to us, find out more. We'll be sharing, anything that we can with others, but also just want to make sure we're available for our constituents. So we'll hope to see you tomorrow. That's 9 to 11 at Ann's Pie Cafe, which is next door to Wheat Ridge Meats on 29th. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Holm.
Thank you, Mayor. So I got a little bit of list. So the first thing I want to say is I attended the Leadership Jeffco graduating class this last Wednesday because I'm on the Jeffco EDC board. That was a really good event. There's a couple officials that showed up, commissioners, and Mayor Weinberg gave a speech, and I had some good conversations with some of that class. And then Civic Spark attended that last Thursday with the mayor. I'll just go into a couple things, and the mayor might have something to add too. But there was a lot of good discussions around homelessness and housing, and just really, having getting into some real depth with just a few individuals. So it was a real small event. I was happy to attend that. And then the one thing I did want to make a comment, I was always kind of taught you should have some good things, and then you kind of sandwich it with something not so great. The wall. I've heard a lot of people that are really upset about the wall. I know the city has nothing to do with that. And I'm talking about the one that's on, obviously, Wadsworth. That is really tall. I feel like our city has gone to such lengths to be so inclusive, in that wall is the opposite. And so I think we've, I'm sure we've had, I don't know if you had discussions, but I've had discussions with people. They're not happy about it. And now I'm going to move on to something better. I want to give a big thank you to our Director of Public Works. The Clear Creek Trail, the Kipling Tunnel has always been an issue as a cyclist. It wasn't very well lit. And they made that so now it is lit 24 hours a day. I think that's great for safety. And then today I was surprised. I got out on my bike today, and there's a tiny little 10-foot sidewalk that made me so happy. That is on the south side of 44th, right by the bridge. And before it had this really odd, acute angle that it's been very frustrating to try to get onto the little trail that drops down onto the main one. Brand new. I was like, wow, thank you. Huge thanks. I took a picture of it. I know other people that I've talked to in the AT-ATs have expressed concern, like, can we have something? And so I don't know when it got done, but I would have been there for the ribbon cutting. I was so excited. And then I did want to say thank you to our CSOs that you've done a lot of work. You know, on some, I know we've had some properties that have been very problematic and trying to get those cleaned up. Big thank you to that. And then a thank you, we've had all these branches that have been broken down, and that's, I biked by that. There's a huge pile, and thank you to the city and our parks, you know, for getting all those wrangled up, and, you know, trying to move forward. It was just bad weather, and we're just trying to clean it up, and I think that's great. One question I do have for Patrick is the status of the Dover meeting.
Of what? I'm sorry.
Dover.
Oh, yeah, we're,
Neighborhood meeting?
it's probably will be sometime in June. We're waiting for the final conceptual design from our engineer. Should be any day now. And then we're going to give a 2 to 3 week notice to the neighborhood, so that'll probably put it out into June.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you. I was going to also thank the city for the branch pickup. I know my neighbors were really grateful for that. I also want to thank the city for clearing the Clear Creek Trail. There were a lot of down trees and large branches on the Clear Creek Trail, and that got cleared pretty quickly. A couple other things. I just want to take a little bit of ownership on an agenda mishap tonight. As the mayor pro tem, I should have caught that we didn't have the Mental Health Awareness Month on there. So my apologies, but recognition to the city manager and the mayor for thinking quickly and properly acknowledging that really important aspect of our community. And then I also want to acknowledge something else that caught my eye that I just wanted to make note of. We get quarterly reports from the city manager and staff, just kind of giving a snapshot of what's going on in the city. And I was really delighted in the most recent one to read, and I'm just going to read this directly. We spent the quarter focused on right-sizing the city fleet through cross-departmental collaboration by auditing actual vehicle needs and uplifting existing assets rather than buying new. We successfully moved away from 3 planned heavy-duty pickup purchases. Instead, we shifted those funds towards fuel-efficient midsize trucks and added 3 new EVs. And that is just, I think, a really strong story of alignment with our values and as a city of being both good stewards of public funds, but also recognizing that the way we spend our money impacts the environment. So thank you, staff, for that. And then lastly, I just want to share, so I had the privilege last week to travel with the several DRCOG board members. We did a peer exchange with Puget Sound Regional Council. It's their equivalent of DRCOG in the Seattle region. I don't think I've ever been so busy. They had us busy the entire time we were there, but it was really exciting. We had the opportunity to meet with a lot of our colleagues in the region and tour a lot of transit-oriented development and really hear the story about how they go from a concept around transit-oriented development to actually building it out. We also learned a lot about their transportation initiatives and how they integrate transit and do just large transportation planning. And really what came out of it were a couple of things, and one of them was the DRCOG board. I mean, we weren't meeting as a board, but we kind of had a wrap-up conversation around key takeaways from our time with our colleagues. And one of the things we're really going to take a hard look at, especially with a new governor coming in, is can we do more regional collaboration around moving forward our housing needs assessment that DRCOG's just completed, and really recognize that if regionally we have buy-in on certain priorities, then we can actually work as a region to get those moving faster and remove some barriers. So And Wheat Ridge was recognized a couple times in conversations about some of the things we've done. So that was a really good trip. But I also had a chance to have good conversations with some of my peers, our colleagues. And I kind of like Counselor Ohm, there were a couple stories told that were really troubling to me around some of the way other councils are behaving in like a civics and democracy sense that were actually, like, I would say, very upsetting. And it made me just really deepen the appreciation for how we conduct ourselves, how we treat one another, even when we don't necessarily agree. I think we welcome a diversity of perspectives. And just like the civic health of this council and our city was like really, really apparent to me a couple times in conversations I've had. And also recognizing our city attorney, and that I heard a couple of like upsetting conversations about how city attorneys are responding to some things. So I just want to name, like, we're doing good work. We have institutionalized good work here, but we're also recommitting ourselves every time we show up to do it in a healthy way. So I just want to recognize that work that we're doing here. And I'm still recovering from the trip because they worked us really hard. But they're doing great stuff there, but we're doing good stuff here too. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'll echo that every time I meet with a mayor or another city official from another city. I'm always reminded of how amazing it is to work with all of you here. So thank you. A couple things for me. I had an Education Coalition meeting last week, I believe it was. Super exciting, lots going on for our schools here in Wheat Ridge. Obviously, they're wrapping up all that's going on, and I sent an email out to all the counselors to invite you all to our t-shirt passing out events for our kindergartners that are continuing on to first grade, but we always like to future pace those kids and show them what it'll be like to be at Everett this year and then later on the farm. So super excited about all the cool stuff going on at the end of the school year for that. I also want to recognize all the cool field days that I've been able to attend, both as mayor and as a karate instructor, but had one today at Prospect Valley, and our PE teacher at Prospect Valley is amazing, very organized, did an awesome job in Stober last week as well. I joined Counselor Ohm at the Civic Spark event. Thank you to Local Works for helping put that on. They do a phenomenal job, but I think Counselor Ohm talked about it a little bit. They talked a little bit about homelessness, but also early childhood development and some other things that go along with that. So I think when we talk about homelessness and services, you have to talk about early childhood development, and you have to talk about health or child care and that sort of thing, because you can't get a job if you can't have the little ones taken care of. So that's a huge thing that we'll be looking at here, kind of on a regional level in the next couple of months, as well as how do we get more daycares, preschools, that sort of thing to help. I had coffee with the mayor on Saturday at the Starbucks at Wadsworth and 38th, the brand new one. Absolutely beautiful facility, and thank you to all the staff there. We had a great turnout. We had good conversations. Thank you to Councilor Martell for coming in for a while on that one. Great questions, I thought. We had a very cute young lady come in about halfway through, Miss Liliana, and brought in this letter to council. So I'll make sure you guys all see it. I do make sure that you guys see the things that I get. But she would like us to take a look at some of the parks, and especially the one at Lutheran Legacy Campus, although we won't be in charge of that. But respecting the history is a big part of that for her and her family. So fantastic. And then I also want to talk a little bit about this coming Friday is our first concert on the Green. So our Parks and Rec department has done an awesome job, not only programming the Green, but also Anderson Park for the whole summer. And so 6 p.m. on the Green Friday night. I believe the DJ that they have is 14 years old. So super excited about that. And like I said, we have some pretty cool youth going around in here. And we had our Gone Boarding kids here tonight, and you can tell what a cool program that's going to be and what that's already doing for that school, and the excitement that it's bringing. So we will go ahead and adjourn here in just a moment to our special study session. We will be back next week for a special hearing. So we will go ahead and adjourn. We'll take about 10 minutes. We'll be back at 8:30. Thank you. I'd like to call to order the special study session for May 11th, 2026. We have one agenda item tonight, which is the animal code amendments, and we will go right to the city manager, Mr. Goff. For
Thank you,
presentation.
Mayor. I'm going to go straight to the Deputy City Manager, Mary Ann.
All right, I thought I'd never be back in front of you guys to talk about animal, but here we are. So we are back. We're going to talk today, give a little background of how we got here tonight. We're going to talk about the prior action. We're going to go through 3 specific items: venomous animals, potbellies, pigs, and swine, cats at large, and then we will open it up for a discussion from the group. I'll try to be quite quick. I'm aware there's an Avs game on, so we'll get this moving. So as part of the background, as you know, we have discussed Chapter 4, the animals. Historically, it was outdated. We doesn't really match the way that we're doing our business. So we've been coming to you since last year to propose some updates. We came last June, which I'll talk about briefly. Got most of it figured out, came back to you a little bit later, got some additional feedback. We'll just move on to the next one. I went to this planning commission in February to talk about the areas specifically related to Chapter 26. And then we came for first reading in March and then second reading in April, during which time the public hearing was continued to talk about these 3 items, specifically venomous animals, pot-bellied pigs and swine, and then cats at large. So first things first, let's talk about venomous animals. So during previous discussions with council, you may recall that we reviewed the existing regulation regarding ownership of all reptiles, amphibians, and insects. There appeared to be some unintended consequences of the code structure, which banned all animals by default, unless they were specifically listed as allowed. So because we don't believe that all reptiles, amphibians, and insects present inherent health and safety risk, staff recommended and received consensus to kind of switch the order of operations. So in September, we all discussed amending the code to allow their possession while continuing to prohibit a smaller, clearly defined subset of those animal classes that do pose a genuine threat to public safety. So the current concern that we have right now is that following the discussion, we realized that there was a need for a more detailed review and clarification regarding Section 414D, which is specific animals enumerated. We received some feedback that just might be overly complicated. We might just be kind of doing a little too much. It may have unintentional consequences regarding some of the lawful business operations in the city, and for that I'm specifically referencing Reptile Room, a 5280 Reptile Room. And so one of the things that we found is that we were doing a little bit of duplicating efforts, and so we were like banning venomous snakes. Those are already banned by the state, so we just sort of don't need to double do some of this work. Additionally, we were getting a little overly detailed about things that aren't currently issues in Wheat Ridge. And we also received feedback that the term insects might want to be changed to invertebrates, which staff doesn't have any issues with, since all insects are invertebrates, but not all invertebrates are insects. That works for us. And so working with the business owner, getting some feedback from the group, we're recommending that we just simplify what we proposed to you back in September, and that we just lean more heavily on what the state is already doing. So that is recommendation number 1 on venomous animals. As we move forward to pot-bellied pigs and swine, right now it's unlawful for any person to own, possess, harbor, sell, or in any way, any other manner, traffic any exotic animals or wild animals, any animal that's not a domestic animal. So as you know, the chief of police there is an exemption process through the chief of police. Through an annual application process, at this time, exemptions may be granted. And we do have several existing requirements for pot-bellied pigs under the exemption process. So for right now, pot-bellied pigs are specifically not allowed. If you do want them, you have to go through the chief's exemption process. And there are some specific requirements that are listed in the code. For example, the maximum weight is 150 pounds. The maximum height is 2 feet tall. They have to be certified by a licensed veterinarian to verify that they are, in fact, a pot-bellied pig. So in September, council did give consensus to ban swine, so that it did not include pot-bellied pig from all zone districts. And this update was approved by the Planning Commission in February of this year, and that's what was proposed on first reading. So the current discussion is related to small pigs. We did receive requests that council members might want to consider allowing small pigs that are not necessarily defined as pot-bellied pigs. However, with small pigs are still members of the swine species, so it starts to get a little complicated. And then with pigs being large or small or still growing, they are part of the swine family. And with what we had proposed this past fall, if we wanted to allow small pigs, we would have to update the requirement related to swine, which would also update any impact to chapter 26. So just to have awareness of that. Additionally, there was some consideration related to the descriptive Latin language for pot-bellied pigs. It was referred to as Sus scrofa vittatus, which is a wild boar. And so we may want to change it to Sus scrofa domesticus, which is pot-bellied pigs. So this staff is in favor if council wants to proceed with the Latin language being updated. So overall, the recommendation for this one would be that staff did speak with the chief of police and our community service officers, and while they're fine with the Latin language being updated, they're also fine if we just want to remove the Latin language entirely, because with the certification process with the veterinarians, that would kind of do the due diligence of verifying the type of species that it is. And they would just, in terms of enforcement, I think when we think about our community service officers going out and verifying which Latin species it is, it may not be realistic in practicality. So simplifying it might be the preferred option. Additionally, I did ask the chief of police if we do have any current exemptions for pot-bellied pigs. And he said that the only exemption for an exotic animal right now is for a kangaroo yoga facility. So no current pot-bellied pig concern that we're seeing right now. So overall, staff would request that council consider removing the Latin language and then just lean on existing descriptors, but otherwise not change any of the recommendations. And then finally, for cats at large, currently section 4.8 of the code only pertains to dogs at large. Last year, staff proposed some revisions to the code, which included updating the word dogs to animals and then creating an exemption for domestic house cats. Council did provide consensus at that time. Since then, staff received some feedback that there may be interest in reviewing the regulation regarding domestic house cats. Council may, consider additional updates to section 4.8, which is dogs at large, to remove the exemption of domestic house cats. And the reason for this potential update would be primarily due to the impact on birds and for cat safety. A few other Colorado municipalities have also restricted domestic cats at large, including Westminster, Fort Collins, and Loveland. But overall, staff did discuss this with our community service officers who had some real concerns regarding the practicality of enforcing this, and shared that they don't currently find that there is an issue with domestic cats at large. It doesn't seem to be a widespread issue in the city, so the recommendation would be to keep the previous consensus of exempting domestic cats. So in total, we are here for discussion. We have the chief of police, we have Jerry Dahl, we have two community service officers, our supervisors here with us today if we have any specific questions, but otherwise let's open it up for discussion.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from council? Councilor Rome.
Thank you, Mayor. The only one that I want to touch on is the cats. And so I, personally, I have, it's always about the spider and the fly, right? So I have a neighbor who I won't name that has a bird feeder, loves birds. The squirrel goes, hits the bird feeder, that drops the seeds, and now I have mice and rats. And so because of the mice and rat problem, the cats are coming into the yard to help deal with that. I have also noted you can easily look on Nextdoor, we have a huge rat problem. And so people are buying feral cats to take care of the rats in the neighborhood, typically closer to Clear Creek. I don't know if the other council members are aware of this, but this is a true statement. And so they're trying to do that, and I think they feel that that is better than using, lethal poison or sticky traps. And so that's the consideration. I see the cats jump over my fence, and I know that I have a mouse problem, and there's not too much that I can do about it. Try to encourage the neighbor not to feed it, but and then we also have we're very somewhat farm friendly, I guess I'd say, and so we have chickens, and so in some of those areas too, the chickens have grains, and so the rats are attracted to the grains, and they don't want to be putting poison out, and so that's where the feral cats come in. So that's my comment. I'm not necessarily asking a question, but that's what's going on. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen.
Thank you. I'll just go through these in order. Number one, I like staff's recommendation, so no additional comments there. For the pot-bellied pigs and swine, I definitely support just pulling the Latin name. As someone who did a lot of just identifying flowers using Latin names, like Latin names are just not all that helpful for the most part. And I think the other requirements work well for the exemption process. So I'd prefer we don't go into the allowing small pigs. I've had numerous conversations in the last few months about people who had small pigs that turned into big pigs. And one of the significant concerns from an animal welfare standpoint is that it's actually really hard to find somewhere to accept a pig. They usually have to go to farms, and so like we have humane shelters that will take animals like dogs and cats and rabbits and hamsters and birds, but it's actually like finding somewhere to rehome a pig is really actually problematic. So I would prefer we don't do small pigs. For the cats at large, when this came around the first time, I actually supported treating cats like dogs, and I'll just restate some of the issues that I've personally had with it. And so in my neighborhood in the last 2 years, we've had a cat hit by a car right in front of my house. Very traumatic for my neighbor who hit the cat. We've had 2 cats go missing. We had another cat killed by a dog at large in their front yard. And I have a cat across the street that spends a good part of its day in my yard, pooping in my garden, and I can't do anything to get rid of it. So it's a nuisance to me, and my dog goes crazy because I have an open rail fence. And so it's an animal that, is roaming around my property that like there's no enforcement for me. I did talk to the neighbor, and the neighbor has gotten a little bit better. Like I'll text her and she'll come get the cat. But then I have another cat or neighbor with 2 cats, and they're out every day, and he's got little Apple tags on them, and he lets the cats kind of wander around his front yard. They get their outdoor time. They're, being monitored by the owner. They're on their property. So I think, from an animal welfare standpoint, I mean, it's, part of what we're doing here is not just, trying to regulate our neighbors, but trying to care for animals. And I feel like allowing cats to just wander at large into your neighbor's yard is maybe not something your neighbor wants. I understand like the control of rodents is something that cats can contribute to, but there are ways of containing cats within yards. I mean, you can use collars, and there's different things, but to make an exemption for cats, I've just seen a lot of bad things, like literally on my block in the last 2 years, that to me signal it's fine if we've heard from a constituent tonight who said, it's her responsibility if like something bad happens to the cat, that's on her, but it actually affects your neighbors as well. So I am in support of including cats, just to have all animals at large for enforcement. And like, I've never called CSO enforcement because I know that there's nothing that they can do to enforce a cat at large. So anyway, so those are just my thoughts on that. I would support the changes that we're can ask for consideration tonight. I would like us to be able to enforce cats at large as an issue. Thank you.
Counselor Wood.
So first of all, I am the council member who brought this forward, and I want to thank our council for having this discussion, and I want to thank staff as well for having this discussion. You know, I know that we have already sort of gone through the reasons that I brought forward. Let's at least talk about cats at large and considering including them in the enforcement that's written into the new legislation or the new ordinance. But I think it's worth reiterating it again. I mean, I kind of want to preface it with a statement that the purpose for this is not anti-cat. It's not being anti-cat. It's being pro-animal. We already talked about what it does to the bird population, and we can talk about responsible pet owners. And I know there are responsible pet owners that will do their best to prevent cats when they're outside from killing birds. But it is in their nature. And when you have statistics that are borne out by more than one advocacy organization that yearly the cats kill between 1 and 4 billion birds, then it really does indicate that it is a problem. Even if you think it might not be because you didn't see it happen that day or that week, it is a problem. You know, we have other places in our ordinance where we protect wildlife. That doesn't mean we have to have the same thing all throughout the ordinance. I'm not trying to say that. But, you know, it is in our values to protect wildlife. So to me, this is something worth considering. And then to the points that Mayor Pro Tem Hulteen made about protecting the cats themselves. When they're outside, they're subject to being hit by cars, being attacked by other animals, being carried off by predators, and any number of things. And in fact, in reading about this, cats that are outdoors live about half as long as cats who are kept indoors. And so this also provides an opportunity to protect the cats as well. And then there is the nuisance aspect for cats that wander into yards where they're not particularly welcome. I think that what is interesting is when you read the proposed language, and I unfortunately had it right in front of me. Here it goes, I think. A person who is an animal owner shall be guilty of animal at large if the animal runs at large within the city, with the exception of domestic house cats. It's like of all the animals that are out there that people could have as domestic pets, they can run at large, or they are prevented from running at large with the exception of house cats. So it seems an unusual exemption. I do have a couple of questions for staff. I don't know if this is the right time or not. So one of them is about enforcement, and because I know questions have been brought up about that, and I will have to admit cats are certainly elusive. So my question would be, how are other animals at large? How is that enforcement done, and why couldn't that be applied to cats, albeit maybe sometimes not as successfully? But why couldn't that same thing be applied? And I also did want to point out that even at times where we're not able to be successful with the enforcement, there's still an educational value to this, to point out that there is a danger to the cats and there is a danger to wildlife to have the cats running at large. And then the other question I had for staff is about there was a statement that was made that cats at large are not seen to be a big problem in Wheat Ridge, and I wanted to know what the criteria for that was. You know, what kind of problem are we talking about? Not a problem in what way? Again, when you look at the numbers of birds that are killed, again, borne out by multiple organizations, we may not see that every day, but that in itself is a problem. So I wanted to ask by what criteria? And those are all my questions. And again, let me just sum up with saying thank you again for considering this and talking about it.
Thanks for the question, and I'll let our community service officers get to that in a second. I would say, with respect to your first question, how would we enforce it or how would we go about it? It's generally in the same manner, in that if you know, I think to some of the examples, who the cat belongs to, we'd go and have a conversation with them. We're not going to be herding cats, so to speak, to try and catch the cat. They're very difficult. Really, to your other point, why is it, is there a difference? Yes, because people can be afraid of dogs in a way that they're not necessarily afraid of cats. Dogs can be more aggressive, and they certainly can and have shown instances of aggression towards people. And I think that's really where the distinction lies in the two different maybe mindsets as to why different animals are treated differently. And many of our wildlife at large or wild animals at large, the complaints that come in are the ones that people believe are dangerous animals that are loose, whether that's the python got out or whether that's a dog running loose or whatever. Generally, cats are considered, less conflictual with humans than other animals. And as far as our time goes right now, is spending our time in my search, and I'll let Marie comment on it, was that, we had very few calls about cats in our history. Now, our officers, just so everybody's aware, they do code enforcement and animals. It's unique in Wheat Ridge in that they're tasked to wear multiple hats. So if we did ask them to add the cats as well, and people became very interested in enforcing that, it would probably require some level of consideration about upstaffing that if that became a point of concern. Marie, do you want to add to that?
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Council, Mayor, for your guys' time tonight. I would totally agree with everything that the Chief just spoke about right now. As far as the cats running at large, Phil and myself reflected on, again, just kind of looking at dogs at large. There are times that we can spend an hour to 2 hours on a call with a dog at large and just trying to confine a dog in a corner in a fenced area. If you think about a cat at large, cat could jump a fence, jump a roof on a house, climb up a tree, climb up a flagpole. That can cause some troubles for our team to try to go ahead and confine that cat in a safe manner and not break policy here with the Chief. But yes, those are just some of the things that we do look at. As far as the time that I've been here for 13 years. I've only had one cat call. In concerns with it being off leash, to comments to Ms. Holton, and it was for the same thing, the cat defecating in someone's yard. But we do have an ordinance that does cover the defecation picking up for an animal. So if that is something that you would like to call in, that is something we could definitely go ahead and enforce. Again, what we would need from you is just let us know who the cat belongs to, if we can have a picture, a video of that cat. So in this way we can go ahead and properly identify that animal and then go to the animal owner and let them know and go ahead and issue them a warning. But that wouldn't be a cause for us just to go ahead and scoop up the cat and take it to the shelter. Because again, we need to remember that animals, they're property, so we do have to make sure that we follow the policies and procedures here with the agency.
I wanted to say thank you for the answers because I was curious about the questions. I will, though, just circle back and say, it sounds like the real concern is the impact on people as well as it should be, like from dangerous dogs. That would be a real issue. But it doesn't really speak to the danger to other wildlife like birds. So anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you for the answers.
Sure. Thank you. Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, staff, for the focus on this. The staff recommendations for 1 and 2, I'm in deep alignment with. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for taking a very close look at this, especially when it seemed like it was wrapped up at one point in time. For cats at large, there's a couple of things here that I think are very important to me. I don't believe I'm the only one on council who's a cat owner. Am I the only one on council that's a cat? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I had a feeling like I wasn't. My wife and I have had 4 indoor cats throughout our life. Those are the only pets that I've ever had. and they've been indoor cats the entire time. One thing that I find when I talk to people who have outdoor cats, or the owners of outdoor cats that I encounter, is maybe a presumption that outdoor cats are most happy when they have access to the open outdoors. And as a owner of 4 happy cats, 2 have passed away, and 2 that are currently very happy, I know that that's not the case. Cats can be very happy being indoors, and I feel like a component of this, being educational, is a really important piece, because the silence of the harms that exist with outdoor cats is a really big problem. The research is very clear, as Councilmember Wood pointed out. Some other statistics of research, many in an aggregation in North American bird rehab facilities, 52% of the birds that they receive throughout the nation are directly the cause of domestic cats outdoors, causing harm to these animals. And that silence, I think, is a really important piece. Totally heard and understood on the expertise about the difference between the threats that dogs pose at large as well. But imagining the diversity of the animal kingdom and the diversity of threats and approaches that they have there, to me, making a side-by-side comparison, not saying that staff was doing this, but in my mind, a side-by-side comparison of those 2 threats is not clean or appropriate to understand what the true harms are here. Thank you also for the clarification on cat defecation. I think that's a really important piece. To me, it almost seems contradictory at that point to have cats who have very specific preferences about where they go to the bathroom, which do not include preferences about whose property they are on. It does feel to me like there's almost something contradictory to be able to allow an exception of cats to be outdoors when we know that defecation on another person's property is another enforceable piece. I do feel very strongly about this, and I want to make sure that I get a chance to express the importance of these kinds of actions. We know that local municipalities, Fort Collins, Loveland, Westminster, where I grew up, do already have reflections of these kinds of rules on the books. And I think when I was a kid, none of them did. So this is a trend that's happening in our municipalities. I think it's for the right cause. We do understand the harm to birds very, very clearly, and to be able to do something in our community to be able to help with this, I think is really important. Last thing I'll say, in some of the research that I was doing about this, the harm to birds and local wildlife with domestic cats who are well fed, who are always going to be in a position to be great predators. All felis are incredible predators. It's not just the fact that that wildlife is consumed or killed by house cats. It's also the environment that's created by the abundance of house cats that are out there too. So stress to wildlife can force them into other habitats that might not be appropriate for those animals. And I've got tons to say, but I really need to give myself the hook. So I really feel strongly about this.
Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Myself, I'm good with the language on the first one and the second one as well, because the Latin made me think of the movie Gladiator, and we'd be looking for Maximus Pigamus Aurelius. The third one, and with another movie reference, Ricky Bobby, with all due respect, I think we should leave it alone on the exemption. I have a lot of neighbors, and we have one that makes my ring bell door, the camera in the driveway, go off. I get a CAT scan about 3 or 4 times a week, where the little black kitty makes his little rounds. One of the neighbors at the end of the block even has he built a little cat house for the local little orange. Well, he's a big fat orange and white long hair that visits them, and they put food out for him, and he hangs out there and goes about his business. I just think having my own cats, Harry and Lloyd, Dumb and Dumber, there's a reason they're named Harry and Lloyd. Harry tries to escape and gets out every now and then, and trying to wrangle him in is a feat. And then he's not very bright either, because once you do wrangle him, his defense is to just roll in the grass and look at you. and then you pick him up and you take him in the house. But long story short, I just don't think you can herd cats. They're just not real. I just don't think it's a huge problem, and I can't support this one. My buddy with the race cart shop will hang me because he has a garage cat, and when we had one before, we didn't have a mouse problem in my big rig that we used to haul the race car around. Ivan passed away, and I had mouse droppings and 8 wires in the big truck that cost me a little bit to get fixed. And then we went and got another little garage kitty, and no more mouse problem. So I just don't think it will be a good thing to support, in my opinion. And I say it with all due respect to all my fellow councilors.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm not going to go in the order on the list, but I'd like to start. Well, first, I'd like to thank everyone, city staff, and everyone who's continuing to work on this. And also, I'd like to thank and show respect to the prior council and all the work that they did to get this almost to the finish line. And then 4 new people come in and start poking at it and asking questions. So sorry, not sorry, but I do want to acknowledge all the work that was done. And I do think that there's times when new eyes will maybe make things better, even if it's a little bit more work. And I'm hoping that's the case, but I wanted to acknowledge that. I also, starting with the cats at large, I can agree with everything that everyone has said, including being for the removing the exception and including keeping the exception. I've never had cats. I'm allergic to cats. So cats in the wild are a little bit scary to me because I don't want to run into them because I'm very allergic to them. But the filter I used really in thinking about this is what was the intent of these code updates when the prior council was taking this project on. And the thing I remember hearing in those study sessions and in talking to my peers was that the intent was to create a set of codes that could be equally applied and could be consistently applied. And with that thought process, particularly with the cats at large, for me, the bar that would need to be met to have an exception to something being applied universal or as universal as possible is pretty high. I'm not an exception or exemption fan if the code can be written to be inclusive. And so with thinking about that, I would need a lot of reason and a lot of evidence to be on board with an exception. And then also I think about being a dog owner and being a dog owner my whole life. And as I was growing up, we opened the door and the dogs went out and eventually they came home. And some dogs came home every night for dinner and some dogs weren't as food motivated and they came home maybe a couple days later. And that's just not how things are done anymore. And that was a natural evolution for the safety of the dogs and the safety of the community. And I think some of the reasons we've talked about tonight on safety to cats, the trauma of cats being hit in neighborhoods where it might be the responsibility of that cat owner to take responsibility for it. But it does impact the neighborhood. It does impact the kids who saw it happen. And the impact to the environment and the impact to birds. I think that a couple generations from now, people will be looking back on this decision and say, well, of course cats are inside. So maybe we're ahead of that trend. So for me, I do acknowledge the working cats and the pest management benefits of the cats, and just the thought today of wrangling cats, I don't think is high on anybody's wish list. But I think this is an opportunity for us to not apply an exemption, create codes that can be enforced consistently, and perhaps be ahead of this trend of cats at large being under control. So that's where I stand on the cats. I completely agree with the recommendation on the venomous animals. I am the one who really brought forward item number 2, potbelly pigs and swine. And so I do have a couple questions on that. And first of all, I love the idea of just removing the Latin language. I'm 100% on board with that. And I do, like, I understand the suggestion to lean into existing language, but I'm still kind of hung up on this one point that I would love maybe Marianne or maybe Chief for you to chime in on, just so if I can wrap my head around it, that will help me move forward with number 2. I think there's a lot of language in the code trying to say what could be allowed under section 414C when, Chief Murtha, you are able to give an exception for a pig or a swine, or insert the appropriate word here. And I'm wondering if, instead of trying to say pot-bellied pigs, where how do we define pot-bellied pigs? Because I found different language or different classes could be inside pot-bellied pig or outside pot-bellied pig. I found some sample language that speaks to language like domestic pigs kept as companion animals may be permitted under section 414C, provided the animal complies with the size, blah, 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 other bullet points. So we're not saying pot-bellied pigs. We're not saying small pigs. We're not saying, I can't remember the other words. And then a separate prohibition on livestock swine operations or breeding operations or agriculture raising of pigs. That is never permitted. So I'm just wondering if not just moving the Latin language, but even making it a little bit more broad, that it's domestic animal that meets the requirements of like height, weight, size. So that's just a thought I had. So I'd love your thoughts.
I think we touched on it earlier, but for us to monitor the size and weight of an animal throughout its life cycle is next to impossible. And certainly, you know, the experience, I think, and I'll let Marie touch on this, but is that you're going to have people who have a difference of opinion on what they're looking at as opposed to what we find in these cases. And in past, you know, if history tells us anything, it's that if we're ambiguous about this, we're going to be in a difficult spot trying to do enforcement there. So maybe to your earlier point, defining things pretty clearly is a lot easier if we just say, okay, you know, for the cat example, no animals are allowed to be free roaming. Maybe, you know, maybe there is no exemptions, or maybe there is for potbelly because they're a specific species and they can be identified and that they only grow a certain size. That's up obviously to the council to decide, but I think making it easier on our animal control officers to be able to enforce and do their job without having to stand out there and argue with two different sides, especially in an emotional, animals are an emotional component of police work, you know, even when it doesn't come to what they're doing every day and an officer is trying to separate somebody from their animal to take them to jail or something, the animal is incredibly part of their life. So this becomes a whole other level of interaction. Marie, am I speaking out of turn to say that?
No, not at all.
Do you want to add anything to that?
I guess, again, just to kind of touch base on what Holtine had mentioned as well. I mean, if somebody does get a small pig and it ends up growing outside the size, it can become difficult to try to go ahead and redeem that animal and do what's best, not only for the animal, but for the owner. If we were to look out to maybe perhaps trying to weigh that animal again, I mean, that's a lot of equipment that we would have to look into, and honestly probably have to have an actual vet on staff, and that is something like I wouldn't even imagine how the heck to even get that thing going. And also, I mean, if we do add on more pigs, sorry to break this back, but more mice, more rats, back to the cat issue. And yeah, so there are their pros and cons, right, of having the cats off leash or on leash and in the home, but yes, that's it.
Thank you, and that makes a lot of sense. So would the definition of potbelly pig be a part of the certification by such a licensed veterinarian? Is that where we get the potbelly pig certification or definition? And so with all of that, do we need that? Like, no potbelly pig may be more than 150 pounds or 22 inches tall. Like, is that unnecessary language, or is it just a certification that it's potbelly pig and a Chief Murtha approval for the exception?
I can't speak to how the animals work because that was never something I signed up to do. I'm learning more and more. But just as far as the exemptions go, you know, that process is really based on community input. It would be a lot of neighbor visits and whether or not there was space for the animal, and would rely a lot on the inspections that were done by the animal control officers. So there'd be a lot into it, but it certainly, separating somebody from an animal they've had for 8 years that suddenly trips the 150-pound mark is a difficult point to consider. But I think Marie had some comments on this as well, maybe.
Yeah, just looking at some of the different sizes of the pigs, I mean, they can get up to 400 to 600 pounds. So, yes. So it's just, it can be very difficult to try to wrangle a pig, potbelly pig of that size. And then also, again, taking into account of how much acreage, or if we're looking at a pig in a duplex, can get a little challenging.
Great. So thank you for, that sounds like a band name.
You know, I might mention that, you know, these standards were invented, some time ago. And I think, and the chief can tell me if I'm wrong, but at least in the potbelly pig arena, this is a person who wants the exception. This information is presented to them at the time. So I agree, there's no particular magic in 150 pounds, but I want the exemption. I'm told at the beginning, this is the kind of pig you can have. And I think the value sometimes of numbers like this is not later and we're weighing the pig, et cetera. It's really education for the applicant. And so for that reason, I think that it's helpful, because the applicant goes, okay, it can't be, any larger than my 12-year-old son, kind of thing. And but it's education for them at the outset, which I think helps later. So I'd be inclined, there's again no magic in the number, but I'd be inclined to leave it, because it's another tool, an educational tool for the chief. The other thing that I might mention, if we can switch to the cats at large just for a minute, I wanted to make clear that as written, even a dog at large ticket can get written whether or not you're able to capture the dog. I think we shouldn't conflate the two and think, okay, because cats are hard to corner, you can't write a cat at large ticket, because that's the offense, is that the animal is at large. And an element of being able to write the ticket isn't, and we were able to capture them. I don't have an opinion on whether you include or don't include cats for the cats at large, but I wanted to, because there's been some distinctions made. Well, gee, cats are hard to capture. Yes, but that doesn't mean you still can't write the ticket. And so that, I think, is important for council to just be aware of as they consider what you want to do about that. Thank you.
Thank you. And so thank you for talking through my swine questions. I know I was kind of the sticking point on that, but I appreciate the thought process, and I support taking the Latin language out and leaving the rest. But thank you for your time.
Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for this discussion. I know this has been a lot of work and a lot of time put into it. I'm grateful for the discussion. Among many other things, we have 2 new children's book ideas: The Pig in the Duplex and Cats at Large. I'm writing them in my head right now. I wanted to just briefly comment on a couple of things here. The first item, venomous animals, I'm in favor of. The second item, the potbelly pigs and swine. After that discussion, especially, I am in favor of the language, especially with the point about taking the Latin language out. I'd be in favor of that. District 1 had Pablo, and we're very proud of Pablo. But as a whole, I understand. And one of the things that I also wanted to just mention is I want this to be able to be a tool to support our staff, to support our CSOs, because you're the ones that are out there, the front lines, talking about this every day. And the more complicated this gets, the harder it is for you to do your job. And so I want to make sure that y'all are supported and have the tools that you need. For cats, I just wanted to throw out a few things. I appreciate very much Councilor Okada's take on this. I was raised with cats. I have had cats my whole life. I also grew up in the middle of nowhere, and our cats were all outside cats. That's just what you did. Sometimes they came back and sometimes they didn't. And of course, you know, that's, you learn really early about the circle of life. But I've been a cat owner to a point where, you know, moving to the big city and still having indoor cats, and realizing that if you really do, I mean, caring for an animal, there's a lot to it. And I think I'm a huge animal person, and I'm very compassionate and have a very soft spot for all animals. But I do see that in a more urban setting, and that does include Wheat Ridge at times, I think that cats can live a comfortable life inside. And so I'm very much in favor of this language and keeping cats inside. They're a big detriment to birds, and that's just them being cats. That's their instinct. So anything that we can do to keep them inside and keep them from pooping in the garden and keep them from killing birds and things like that, and getting hit by cars, it's very traumatic for everyone involved. So I'd be in favor of all this, but I really see a lot of this discussion and moving forward with this with a lot of compassion for not only for, you know, our community members, but also for the animals, and also for the folks who are doing the job every day. So with all of that, thank you so much for this, and those are my takes on things. Thank you.
Councilor Larson, you haven't had a chance yet.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm really enjoying the discussion here. I give a lot of credit to staff for thoroughly researching the issue and giving us what appears to me to be a workable solution to this. Going back to the beginning, this is about an overall relook and review of the city's animal code in whole. And tonight we're just talking about these three issues. The concern that Councilmember Okada and I had on the venomous animals had to do with the objections brought up by a business owner, and after discussions with that business owner, we were able to make suggestions, and I appreciate staff being able to integrate those suggestions into what we see here tonight. Regarding the swine and at-large cat, I'll go along with the group on this, because it appears that what was presented seems reasonable and effective. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Okada.
Thank you. This discussion is really helpful. I do notice some disagreement here, and like I said a long time ago, I really appreciate and enjoy the disagreement. So it helps us get to better things. I've been sitting over here also trimming down my soapbox to be more like a soap yoga mat. And so the last thing I want to just mention is you know, rodent issues and the cat's abilities to be able to help humanity with rodent issues and pest issues. Definitely. There isn't something mutually exclusive about being able to help outdoor pest issues with a cat that's at large. I want to point out that piece, but I also want to point out my indoor cats have, especially during my college times, have very efficiently helped me with rodent issues, despite the fact that they weren't allowed to go outside. We have some very important things there, but that's the last thing I want to add to the conversation.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Holteen.
Thank you. I wanted to make a comment about the 150-pound weight limit. I did quite a bit of research on the pot-bellied pig thing. I should mention, I had a lot of cats growing up. My mom was the board president for the Dumb Friends League Humane Society most of my childhood. So I was grown up in a animal welfare household that wasn't just our house. We were talking about animal welfare at large as an issue. So, and I remember when the pot-bellied pigs showed up and they were like trying to figure out how to deal with them. So this is something that's kind of been in the vernacular of household conversations for me for decades. But the 150 pounds actually comes about as a demarcation point of what is considered to be a typically very large dog. And when you think of domestic, pot-bellied pigs as being like companion animals and having, you know, a lot of times people like them in the house. But once they tip 150 pounds, they're hard to keep inside houses. They're hard to transport without some sort of special transport equipment. So they start to really enter into a threshold of needing additional needs that kind of like extends beyond what we typically think of as our domesticated animals. And so as we're looking at pot-bellied pigs to kind of fall in this companion animal thing, that's kind of where the 150 pounds comes in. So it's not quite as random as maybe we think. So I just wanted to share that came across in my research. And I am willing to offer up consensus if people are ready. So I'd like to move to accept staff's recommendation for venomous animals as mentioned in the memo.
Do we have a consensus
Do we have
for
a
that?
consensus for that?
We do.
All right. And then I'd like to move for pot-bellied pigs and swine that we move to remove the Latin name and otherwise keep the language as proposed in the memo. Do we have consensus for that?
We do.
And then I am hearing that we have a consensus support for removing cats as an exemption from animals at large. Do we have a consensus for that? So it's confusing because we've heard a couple of different things, but as it's written, the request from council was to evaluate removing cats as an exception from animals at large. The memo says staff actually recommends not doing that. So I want to be clear, we're not, I'm hearing that we have majority support to not have cats as an exemption from animal at large, but we are including cats as enforceable under animal at large. So do we have a consensus? No, we are not agreeing. So staff recommendation is to keep cats as an exemption. And what I'm hearing is that we have majority support from council to actually include cats as enforceable animals at large. So do we have support to be able to enforce cats at large under our animals at large and bring that to, okay.
Okay. Staff, does that answer all the questions that you have?
It does. Yes. Thank you very much.
So this will come back to us for another first reading
Yes.
and then a second reading?
Not for, no, this
No, it's
was
just a second.
rescheduled.
Oh, it's
So
rescheduled.
just public hearing is next.
Okay.
And that's scheduled for June 8th, I believe.
I have a feeling we may have some comments on that one, but we'll move on. City manager, do we have any other updates from you?
No.
No? City councilors, do we have any updates from you guys? Councilor Snell?
Go Avs.
Go Avs. How'd we do?
They won, 5-2.
5-2. Congratulations, go Avs. Yeah, that's right. When we do it, we do it. That's been my view. Yes, they do work better when I'm not watching. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting. It is 9:24. We'll be back again next week on the 18th for a special hearing. So look forward to that. Thank you.